One of the most common questions I get asked often is how did I start with horses and what is the path that I followed to really get to the point I am today? So I thought let's make a video about it, and then for the people who never met me in person, I can really offer clarity on this topic and share as much as possible because I can assure you I've been through many things with them. So first of all, I started riding horses together with my father at the age of 10. And so we didn't have any experience. My father just bought two horses, and it was just a beautiful experience between father and son. So obviously the horses we trained before, but we didn't took any lessons. We didn't rode in the arena. We just went outside in the forest with trial and error, which was a beautiful experience between us. And then I think, yeah, like I said, I started at 10, and I probably every weekend we went for a ride, if not even more. But I think at the age of 12, as a young boy, it's not that cool anymore to ride horses. So I decided to stop riding horses, which was a very big topic for my father because obviously, yeah, it was such a nice experience between us. And I changed to skateboarding. I did for a long time till the age of 18, competition skateboarding, which is obviously a big opposite of riding horses, which was, to be honest, a very good lesson in many ways because it taught me balance, it taught me commitment, courage, many different things that were very helpful in life afterwards. But during the time from 12 to 18, I lost a little bit of connection with my parents. So I went a bit to, yeah, just to a different direction, which is a whole other story, which I'm not gonna explain now. So at the age of 18, 19, I was never really the biggest student. I didn't have much interest to really make other studies after. So at the age of 18, 19, I finally felt responsible to make my own choices in life. Okay, so one of the most common questions One of the most common questions I get asked often is how did I start with horses and what is the path that I followed to get to the point I am today? So I decided to make a little YouTube video about it to really offer clarity for the people I never met in person and to really, yeah, just explain everything in detail because I can promise you I've been through many different chapters. So everything started at the age of 10. So I started riding horses together with my father. We are very similar. We like to be self-taught. So he made sure that the horses were already trained before, but we never followed any lessons. We never rode in the arena. And so we just went outside in the forest and we learned by doing. So we made a lot of mistakes, but it was a beautiful experience in between father and son. We did this very often, almost every weekend, to be honest, because my dad really enjoyed it. I also really enjoyed it. We went for long, long hikes for 4, 5, 6 hours, not even more, till I was really almost falling asleep on the horse. But yeah, beautiful experience. But I think then at the age of 12, as a young boy, it's not that cool anymore to ride horses. So I decided to stop this activity, which was very difficult for my dad, just because once again, it's a beautiful experience between both of us. And I shifted to skateboarding, which is a huge contrast with riding horses, which was, to be honest, a very good thing. I did competition skateboarding, and it really taught me balance, commitment, courage, and many other disciplines, which were very helpful in life afterwards. I did this till the age of 18, 19, until I really actually finished school. I was not really, let us say, the student who wanted to go for high degrees and all the other things. So the moment I stopped school, I went back to the horses, and sorry, the main reason why I went back to the horses is to reconnect with my father, because in between those years, I lost a bit the connection with them. And so for me, it was a beautiful opportunity to, yeah, just go back to my dad and spend again a nice time together and get a bit in the same flow as before. So the moment I went back to the horses, my dad decided to stop riding horses, which is kind of a funny thing. So I think yeah, from the age 18, 19 on. I think from that moment on, maybe we rode together two, three times, which is obviously very, very few times. But for me, it was a very good thing to get back to the horses because it allowed me to really step back from the life that I created before. I went a bit on the, let us say, on a wrong path. And so for me, it was very good to really let the past behind, focus on myself, focus on nature, and focus on the horses. So for me, to be honest, it was really kind of life-saving. I mean, I'm not gonna over-exaggerate, but yeah, you can say life-saving in many ways. And so after school, I went very often to connect with horses. I spent a lot of time in the pasture. I did long walks on foot together with them. I also rode them very often, and it was really, yeah, just a beautiful experience to reconnect with myself, be outside in nature, and yeah, just go through, a new chapter. And so, as I mentioned before, I was not really the biggest student. So I was thinking, okay, what am I gonna do with my life at the moment? What direction do I really want to go? And so there was a friend of my dad. He was working for the government to catch. I'm not so sure what's the English name, but muscus rats. I'm not so sure what's the name. Anyway, it's a type of rat which sounds kind of strange and kind of disgusting in a way, but they're actually very nice animals with a beautiful fur. So to give an example, before, I don't know when, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, even longer, many beautiful fur coats that women were wearing was by those rats. So they're really kind of beautiful, to be honest. And so the reason why I was attracted by this job is because you were always outside. You were going on the canoe, you were going on the river with the canoe, you were walking on the forest. So it's just a job that was really allowing you to really spend a lot of time outside. And to be honest, it was preventive. So there were not many of these animals around in that time. So you just wanted to make sure that they will not come back because they were making damage to the farmer's land and yeah, some other things. So I was applying for the job, but there were many people like hunters and outside people who loved to do this job. Same reason as me, because they just would love to be outside in nature. So it was not too bad. I was standing on a waiting list, and they told me, hey, one day if there is a new spot coming free, I will contact you, and then you will see if you still have the possibility to come and join us. So because this job was not able to pursue, I started reflecting and I said, hey, I'm gonna make a huge journey with my backpack. I'm gonna travel to America, to New Zealand, and Australia. And so my plan was to go to first work so I can pay my first travel ticket, the first flight to go to America. And my goal was to go to the cowboys, to really work there as a cowboy, to work with the cattle and the cows and have some experience, get some money, and then from there on, I will continue to the other countries. And so we'll always be working, stopping, till the point I will, it would be enough, and then I will come back home. And so for some reason, in those days, when you were going to ask for a visa, which is now already 15, even more than 15, yeah, around 15 years ago, which it sounds kind of crazy. But in those days, they told me like, hey, it can be that the visa is going to be managed in 2 weeks, but it can also be that it takes up to 2 months. So obviously, I didn't want to make 2 months. Waiting. I didn't want to wait 2 months, so I decided to go to the mountains in between. And the moment my visa would be arranged, I would be able to really start my journey. So one thing I forgot to go first, pay for my first expenses before I asked for my visa. I worked at the post office delivering the mail with the scooter for about 2 months so I can really have a basic income, so I can pay my expenses, and then from there on I will leave. So I finished my job, applied for the visa. It took me a while, so I decided to go to the mountains. I speak to everyone, to all my friends. I speak to my family, and so I take the TGV. I arrive in Besançon, which is like kind of east of France, And the moment I arrived there, it was really cold. And I came to the realization, I left in February, and I came to the realization I cannot even go high up in the mountains because at the moment, people go and ski, which is kind of special and strange because I also like love to ski and snowboard. I spoke to my friends and family, and nobody had the idea that it was not possible. So I changed plans. I decided to walk to the south of France, so I would be a bit warmer by then. And so once again, the moment the visa would have been managed, I would be able to take my flight and go to the States. And so while making this journey, it really taught me many different things, which I maybe also can explain one time in another video. And also I'm writing it down in my book. But this journey, I can promise you, was really life-changing in many, many different ways. This journey really created and shaped me to the man I am today. So I traveled for 2 months, 2 months and a half. It's very simple, backpack. I did a little piece of La Route de Santiago de Compostela. So for some people, La Camino de Santiago. For the people who know, beautiful experience as well. And so I was able to walk from Besançon till the north of Spain. And the moment I arrived there, to be honest, I came to the realization I needed to realize. So it didn't make any sense anymore to start traveling to the other countries. So I decided to travel back home. And then, oh, I forgot something. It's such a long time ago that I forgot to mention. So I made this journey. I arrived there. I came to the realization and at the same moment, the company of catching those reds called me and say, "Hey, there was a spot free. If you want, you can come and work." And then, yeah, just come and work. And so I decided to go for this job opportunity, travel back home, because it didn't make any sense anymore to travel more. I just wanted to be home around my family and yeah, just create something. And also, I came to the realization that I wanted to do something with horses and dive deeper into the connection with them. So I traveled back home. I started working from the company, and in that moment, my dad decided to say, "Hey, I'm." He was already not working with horses anymore or riding them, but he said, like, for me, it just becomes too much. It's too much maintenance. It's too much work. I decide to really, yeah, sell them, or if you want, you can take them over and take care of them. So I was able to do this because I started working for this company. I had a bit of money, and so yeah, I took at the moment, I think there were two, three horses, and yeah, I worked for the company. And I had a bit of a feeling like, hey, I would like to go on another adventure, but this time I would like to do it with a horse. So I took one of the horses and I went to the south of Belgium and I traveled for about 2 weeks or something. So same principle, very simple, tent, sleeping bag, basic equipment. And the big shift this time is because obviously I had to become responsible for another being, obviously my horse, which was a different type of journey. It also taught me many different things and it also shaped me in many ways, which I'm gonna explain now. So while making this journey, I met a person when I was going to the forest. So I think you can imagine if you ride a horse, all the bags on the side, and I was really watching my map and compass at the same time. And so the guy saw me riding my horse and said, "Hey, make a little stop." We started speaking to each other, and he saw that I was very independent. He was curious about the journey that I was making, so he invited me at his place. So, I decided to say, hey, he invited me for a drink and a meal, and then I would continue from there on. So I traveled to the guy, I put my horse in the pasture, and we started speaking. And so the guy, he wanted to start a company to guide people on horseback through the forest. And because he saw that I was so independent, he thought it was the perfect opportunity to work together so I could help him to guide the people through the forest. So obviously for me, I mean, that's like a dream scenario. I could not imagine any better. So I was super excited. I traveled back home, and the moment I arrived back home, I went straight away to the company and I said, hey, I have another job opportunity. So I quit there. I traveled to the guy. I moved to the guy, which was, for the people who know, La Roche en Ardennes, beautiful region. Yeah, just a beautiful region. Also very nice people. And I started working for his company, which was once again a dream coming true. So I was pretty convinced that I was going to stay in that region. So I bought myself a little chalet in the middle of a forest. In that moment, I was 19 years old. I was super excited. I mean, yeah, I cannot even, difficult to describe. Having such a beautiful job, living in the forest, I could not imagine anything better. And so I was staying in this house, and there was a problem with the boiler. So there was no heating, there was no warm water. And so my dad came for a visit on a motorcycle with a couple of friends. And so we all tried to solve the problem. It was not really working. He stayed there for 3, 4 days. And then the moment my dad was gonna leave, he said like, "Hey, let's go and take another look at the problem. Maybe we can solve it now, and otherwise, yeah, you just have to call a company to fix it." And so to explain a bit better, on the property, at the back of the house, it was just like a huge gas tank, and it just delivered new gas, which was about 65 liters, which is a huge amount. So I said, "Hey, let's go and take a look first before I go in the basement." And when I see the gas tank, there was already more than 150 liters gone, which is huge. I mean, we never used the thing because it was not even functioning. So the moment I went down to go to my dad to ask, to tell him like something's wrong with the gas, I get in the garage, and the whole thing just exploded. I tumbled back, and the blood was dripping off my face. And then I see my dad coming out of the garage. The skin was peeling off. He didn't have any hair anymore. So there was a huge explosion, which is obviously, yeah, now I can laugh about it, but at the time it was horrible because I looked up at the house, and the whole house just literally, the walls just went open, and yeah, there my dream was gone. Normal house. So obviously one of the neighbors really far away in the forest, he heard the explosion, he called helicopters, and he brought me, my dad, and another friend who was in the house. He flew up, landed on his knee, and the whole two legs collapsed. There was 65 stitches in the knee. So went to the hospital. I was second-degree burned, but my dad was third-degree burned. So you can even still see the scars on the arms, and it was not the best experience. Anyway, I went back to my parents to recover. Afterwards, I went back to the guy to continue working. But the guy, he was gonna divorce his woman, a whole story going on. So he was not able to continue the project and the work that we would want to create together. So no more work, no more house. So I decided to go back home and see what's going to be the next step. So when I arrived back home, I came to the realization in my region, it's horrible. I mean, you have almost no forest, there is almost no nature. You have a little couple of paths in between fields, but it's really not ideal. And I thought like, hey, there are so many people who ride horseback in this region, but you almost never see somebody outside. So why should I not do the same as the thing that we wanted to start in the south, and also start a company to start guiding people on horseback in this region. So I had my 2 horses or 3 horses, and I don't remember, to be honest. So I created my website, I made my Facebook page, and I started guiding on horse. I started guiding people on horseback. And so because it was something kind of new in that region, there were many clients coming from in the beginning. I mean, for sure not too bad. And so I was doing this, yeah, very often, guiding the people, which was a beautiful experience because it really taught me how to deal with people. And I always saw how people were dealing horses. So it was probably one of the most valuable lessons I was able to go through in that moment. And so one day there was a guy who said like, "Hey, I would like to ride, join one of the trips, but I don't know how to ride a horse. Don't you want to teach me?" And I said, "Hey, I can give it a try and we'll see how it goes." So just the basic principles. I taught him how to steer, I taught him how to trot and gallop and all those things. So the person was very happy about it. He started speaking to other people, and before I knew it, more and more people who wanted to come to my place to start riding, riding horses, and not with the traditional principle of going in the arena, but in nature, nice and calm, and just enjoy the moment. So that's how I started teaching, and then after a while, I started training horses, and then I started improving myself in the communication. I started riding my horses in Liberty, and till that point, I still never followed any lessons. I was really self-taught. Also, one thing I would like to share about this before I forget about it, for me was even the complete opposite. So what happens very often today, people ask many questions. You know, they're gonna follow lessons here, and they're gonna read a book there, and they're gonna watch a video here. But very often, it only creates the opposite effect. There is so much knowledge out there. Everybody is doing it in their specific way that we start asking ourselves the question, what person is closest to the truth? You know, and so we even have more questions after than we started in the beginning. So I experienced the same principle. My dad had a book of someone, and so one day I took a route. I read one page or two pages, and when I went to the horses, I was way too much in my mind. I was thinking, okay, how did this person do this? And so I lost my intuition. I lost my feeling. I lost my connection with the horse. So I knew straight away, okay, this is not going to be my thing. I'm lucky that I have a lot of self-confidence, and I'm self-reflective, and I like to learn and listen to what my horses have to offer. Also about this topic, I can make another video after because it's just a whole other thing. But just to say that I really was self-taught, I learned myself, and little by little I started improving. So I started riding my horses in Liberty, and then one day I made a video that I was riding one of my horses, and bareback, without the saddle, without the reins, through the city, which was a beautiful video. I was very happy about it. I posted this video on YouTube, and it had some views, but also not like a huge amount, which I was kind of surprised because I must say I was kind of happy with the video. But you know, sometimes that's just how it is. And so I kept going. I started training more and more horses. I had more experience, and I always promised myself till one day, you know, if I'm gonna really, because I was working 7 to 7 from the morning to the evening. I never took a day off, and I knew I had to shift something. I had to focus more on just improving the connection with them and help people to dive deeper. Because now I was so focused with guiding people, and it just became too much. So I always made myself a promise. The moment I will make a shift, I'm gonna focus once again on a different direction, I have to take a little break and to reconnect with myself so I can really integrate what I've done before, so I can prepare myself for a new chapter. But because I was so busy working, I didn't get my promise, and I went from one chapter to another without this commitment that I made towards myself. And so one day I went on a weekend trip with my previous partner, and I was laying in the tent, and when I was laying there, I really felt okay. You know, I really became very emotional, and I knew I lied to myself. I made a promise which I didn't keep. So I took a look at my schedule. I said, okay, in about 2 or 3 months, I have like 1 or 2 week free, and I really have to take time for myself to reconnect, take my backpack like I did before. I knew it was going to be something super important for me. And so I scheduled everything. I went back home, and the moment I made this decision, no joke, the day after or something, a person reached out to me and said, like, hey, I would love to invite you to Jerba so you can organize a clinic at my place. Or just, no, not even clinic, and just so you can give me some lessons. And so for me, it was, wow, a beautiful opportunity because it would be the first time I can go teach abroad. And yeah, it would just be obviously an amazing experience. But I'd never had the time to do it, except for those 2 weeks that I promised myself to make this journey. And so here I became in a huge dilemma. I didn't really knew what to do, what was going to be the best decision. And I was thinking for many days, okay, should I go to Jerba and have a beautiful experience, which I can combine with traveling and still working, or do I keep my promise to myself? And so after 3, 4 days thinking, I was walking with one of my horses, guiding a person on horseback. And for some kind of reason, in the region, there was a deer, with the beautiful antlers, who came to escape somewhere. And it really crossed just in front of me. It never happened before that I saw this animal in this region because they're not originally from there. I mean, maybe thousands of years ago, but not in those moments. For me, that animal represents something beautiful. I think it's my um animal of preference, to be honest, because I just admire them in many ways. So the fact that this animal crossed my way a couple of meters in front of me, it could not have been more of a sign to really keep my promise to myself and go for the thing that I once again that I promised. So I called to the woman and say, "Hey, this is not possible. I don't have the time for this. I will travel my backpack to Spain and to reconnect and see how it goes." So same principle, and as you can see at the moment, the story goes kind of long. Yeah, I do think it's gonna be helpful for some people. So I'm not sure how many people were still following to this point. Anyway, I keep going for the people who are interested. So I traveled to Spain. I've traveled there for about 2 weeks. Same principle, backpack, nice and calm, basic principle. And while making this journey, I had a lot of insights again. I reconnected with myself. I traveled back home and I said, hey, the video I made before, I would like to make a different music around, edit it a little bit different, and then repost it just on my Facebook page because at the moment it's only on YouTube. And then, yeah, let's see how it goes. So I do all the work, put it online. I didn't really thought about it. I go outside, do my job. In the evening when I arrived back home, for some kind of reason, the video went viral. So it really was viewed by many, many different people. And for the next upcoming days, it only became more and more. And people started reaching out from many countries to say, hey, are you not ready to, would you like to come to my place and organize a retreat at my place and just share your knowledge and really, yeah, just share the thing that I was really willing to share to really go to this new chapter. And so the interesting thing, and I'm 100% convinced about it, things can only come in your way when you're ready to receive them. If the video would have been viral before, I would have never been ready to really go to this new chapter because I had a lot of other things in my mind to manage in that moment. So I didn't even knew what a retreat was. I didn't even know what a clinic was. So at that moment, I was really able to really fully embrace it. And yeah, that was really life-changing in many ways. From there on, I traveled to many different countries. I was able to share my knowledge, only focus on the point that I really wanted to help people improve the connection with themselves and their horse. And from there on, step by step, I started developing, I started growing, and then I was able to purchase a beautiful property in the south of Belgium with much more nature, an arena, stables for the horses. So yeah, it was just a dream coming true. Now, me as a person, I'm kind of funny probably on this point, but the moment I arrived in this property, I stayed there for a year or something, and I always like to develop. I always like to grow as a person. My whole goal of working with people and of working with horses is to learn about myself. How can I improve the connection with myself? And how can I help people improve the connection with themselves using horses as a medium? And on that point, I started feeling a bit limited in the message I wanted to bring across. Most of the people who come to my place was like very horse driven. How can I ride my horse in liberty? How can I improve the connection? but there was very often it was searching in a wrong direction. Even if from my perspective at least. So even if I wanted to really guide them in a different way, it was always the same principle. People came with an intention to ride a horse, while in my opinion, it's a way of living. How do you wake up in the morning? How do you start the day? And if you're able to get in tune with your being, riding a horse in liberty is not complex at all. It's very easy even, but it's a way of living. So on that point, I felt too limited and I decided to stop everything. I decided to stop my career as a horse trainer. I even quit the relationship with my previous partner. I sold the property that I've worked before. And so it was obviously a huge thing, which I didn't expect that it was going to have such a big impact, because it really felt like I lost my identity even in a way. I've been doing only this for so many years. So who am I when I put all these things aside? And once again, it was much more challenging than I thought. So I had two horses, and I decided to leave Belgium and move to France. And I was thinking if I move my horses to France, or I can just use a trailer and bring them there, or I can just make a big journey with them and really travel on foot and make an adventure. So I decided to take my two horses and I traveled from Liège, which is kind of southeast of Belgium, all the way to the Alps, close to Chamonix. And then from there on, I decided to rent a trailer and bring them to south of France, close to um, Albi. For the people who know, Albi was the city close to the region. So during this journey, beautiful experience. It taught me many things, but it was also kind of exhausting in a way, just because it was just such a huge change happening. In a certain way, I always need a bit more comfort, actually. Why I did the complete opposite, traveling with a backpack and horses. It's for sure nice, but it's also very challenging, which is another story which I maybe can explain also in another video. Anyway, I arrive in France. As you can see, we keep going with the story. I arrive in France, put my horses with a very good friend of me. So I'm very fortunate I was able to have this opportunity. And so I traveled back home to Liège because I had to arrange all the paperwork with selling the house and the company and all those things. And then I moved to France. My father is a Frenchman, so he lived before kind of close to Bordeaux. So we had a family house there. And so my goal was to go once again in a new chapter. And I wanted to help people reconnect themselves, not so much with horses anymore, but just in many different aspects. And so I created an online course, which was also kind of challenging because I'm a nature person. I like to be outside with horses and traveling and all those things. So working with a computer, I mean, for sure it was not that easy. So I did my online course. It was good. People were happy about it, but it didn't have the same effect that I was imagining it would have been. So I was thinking, okay, how can I really improve this new approach, and how can I manage to really, yeah, find the best way possible to help um, humanity, let us say. So I had a very good friend of me, and now we get to the end of the chapter. I almost. I had a friend of me who was living still in Chamonix. So I went to go and visit him, and I was going for a hike alone. And while I was walking next to the river, I felt like, hey, I received a very good idea, in my opinion at least. I had a very good idea. So why would I not start guiding people on horseback, but through the mountains? Then you have it all. You have still horses who can, improve the connection. You have nature, you have an adventure. You go back to the origin, which is being outside in nature. So I say, hey, perfect idea. So I started thinking, and how can I manage everything? And so I had two options. I think a week or 2 weeks after, I reached out to two people. I had two options to move to the mountains. One was close to my friend in Chamonix, Another place was at a friend of me in Switzerland, also beautiful property high up in the mountains. And so I decided to go and visit both properties before, obviously, I would make a decision. So I went to Chamonix, beautiful opportunity, possibility, but also not really ideal. So then I traveled to Switzerland, and when I arrived in Switzerland, I mean, you cannot imagine any better. Beautiful property, high up in the mountains, very basic. Um, you know, I mean, yeah, just amazing. For the people who follow my social media today, that's where we live now. Yeah, I mean, you can just watch the videos and you can see what I'm speaking about. And so I arrived at this place and I was able to connect with my friend at the time, which became my partner at the moment. I mean, just my partner now. Nicole is obviously that we stayed together, who became my partner. And so this summer after, I started the first retreat that people would be able to come to our place, and I would travel on horseback through the mountains. So beautiful idea, nice concept. People were very excited about it. I had more than 300-400 people still today on the waiting list. So obviously the idea was good. And so the first group, I wanted to first introduce them to the horses, go for a little hike with them so we can get to know each other. And then the day after, we will go for a journey. And so we leave the day after, and very fast, I come to the realization that this was not really, it was not really the best. Uh, yeah, it was not really the best idea, to be honest, because first of all, it didn't really feel so respectful because those people, they didn't really knew the horse. So that was already point one. Point two, the people who came, they were not really used to really traveling in such a basic way together with horses and the backpacks and the tents and the food. And so it took already 2 days to really get used to of this new thing. And yeah, once again, the main thing was probably just that it didn't feel respectful for the horse and also for the people. It was kind of exhausting. So I decided, also a very long story, keep it short. I decided that this was not the best approach. I talked to my partner, and she says like, "Hey, you don't always have to do so many things with horses. Just keep it very simple. You have such a beautiful place here with so many horses. Just invite the people at our place and make them connect with them and make them connect with horses without any methods or techniques, but just in a very natural way." And so for me, it was a big revelation in a way because I always felt before that I had to do something for people. Well, very often the opposite is true. We all have the answers already inside of us. We just need to create a space where people can become vulnerable and self-reflect. And very often the answers will just pop up by themselves. So that's what we did in that moment. We created this beautiful space. People came with a different approach, and yeah, the results are. I mean, you cannot really compare, to be honest. It's beautiful to see horses. We have around 35 horses living in freedom in a way, just on a big property. It's beautiful to see them in a natural context where they connect with each other, where you see herds forming. There is no internet there, there is no electricity. We really get back to the origin. And this is really life-changing in many different ways. So that's the point that we are today. So the summer months, we always stay there where we offer this kind of retreats. And so almost at the end of the horror story, I came to the realization after that I obviously stayed there in summer, but we need to be sure that we also organize something during the winter months. So I decided to travel again to people's home, to different type of countries, to really help people get to the origin of horses and really improve the connection. But in that moment, I was able to find a new approach and really, yeah, just get to the origin in a very, very simple way. It doesn't need to be complex. It doesn't need to be about proving and doing. It's just getting back to the origin. So this I did for many months, which I'm still doing once in a while today, but it's becoming much less. And so now we get to the point. What I'm doing now, I focus on 6-month groups. So you have people that I guide for 6 months. We meet 3 times for 3 days. So in the beginning, we make a good foundation where we get to know each other. We dive very deep on many different topics. The second time, at the moment, we meet up in Iceland, where we see, obviously the wilderness of nature, where we connect with nature and where we can connect with the wild Icelandic horses. And the last retreat of the 6-month journey is at our place in Switzerland, where we really, just put everything in practice, what we have learned for these 6 months. So at the moment, that's what I'm focusing on the 6-month groups. If you're interested, now I'm changing my website so you can find more information there. Would always be nice to welcome you there. And we have many different projects coming in the future. So yeah, if you're interested, then you can just follow social media and see what we're up to. Anyway, my point is to really help humanity as good as possible, share my experiences, and just do the best I can to just do the best I can to help people. To be honest, that's just what I love doing. So as you can see, it's a very long story. I'm still young, so imagine what's happening for the next 40, 50 years. It's going to be amazing. So I hope it's what's going to be helpful for you guys to see that sometimes, we very often want to achieve everything in the first day, but it doesn't happen. My first idea was just to guide people on horseback, and now I'm on the complete different side. You begin with the first step, and you every day is a new day, and you will see that you will end up where you need to end up at the end. The biggest problem many people today is that we're too perfectionist. We want to achieve everything from in the beginning, but I think that's not the way how it functions. You have to start with I'm getting a bit tired of doing this monologue. So it's all about making the first step, learn, grow, and you will see that everything will develop in the natural way. There is nothing that needs to be forced. You just need to trust a bit in the bigger picture, in my opinion. Anyway, I hope it was useful for some of you guys. Wishing you all the best. As I mentioned in the other YouTube video, I have many more topics I would like to share with you guys. If you have ideas that you would like to have my opinion about, just write it down in the comments below, and I would love to really go through them, make a video to really answer your questions, and offer more clarity where I can. Thanks, guys. See you soon. Ciao, ciao.